Welcome to the Real Estate Syndication Show. Whether you are a seasoned investor or building a new real estate business, this is the show for you. Whitney Sewell talks to top experts in the business. Our goal is to help you master real estate syndication. And now your host, Whitney Sewell.
This is your daily real estate syndication show. I'm your host, Whitney Sewell. Today our guest is Ethan Lieber. Thanks for being on the show, Ethan.
Thanks, Whitney. Happy to be here.
Ethan is the co-founder and CEO of Latchel, backed by Combinator and Bain Capital Ventures. They're a tech company that combines expert maintenance coordinators and an easy-to-use web app to handle maintenance coordination needs for single-family and multifamily residential portfolios. Currently providing maintenance coordination services to 60,000 homes and apartments across the USA for real estate businesses, managing a handful of single-family homes up to many thousands of apartment units. Prior to starting, Latchel co-founded and then sold a private label mobile photography business built on Amazon's FBA platform, grossed $1 million in revenue within 3 years of launch. Congratulations on that, Ethan, and congratulations on Latchel as well. And I'm looking forward to learning more about what that is and how that can help, our listeners who are operating properties, and we're trying to become more efficient, with all those things, and create more income, obviously. But give us a little more detail about yourself, and let's dive into Latchel a little bit.
Yeah, so I mentioned it in that short bio that I had sent you that even before starting Latchel, I had created this mobile photography business built on FBA, which stands for Fulfilled by Amazon, which actually, interesting enough, has a lot of operational parallels to real estate syndication in that we weren't sourcing deals per se, but what we were sourcing was product that had a gap on Amazon's marketplace. And a lot of the same fundamentals actually went into place, which is, you're looking at cost, you're looking at, okay, what can you bring in as like monthly income selling that product based on volume on Amazon's marketplace. And then of course, once you actually source, then you execute, you implement, you figure out month to month, how do I need to manage like that supply chain, which is essentially the same, similar logistics problem to actually managing a property if you're managing the property as the syndicator. Of course, you could also be passing it to a property manager. But interesting parallels between both. But I think fundamentally, when it comes down to it, is you're building any business and you're an entrepreneur looking for passive income streams in any way, shape, or form. It all comes down to building playbooks that are repeatable, and playbooks become your process. And then you refine and you refine and you refine through this kind of continuous improvement mindset. So we can get into some of that, but I think those parallels are pretty interesting, but that got me eventually into Latchel. Fortunately, I had like this strong passive income stream from that private label business, which let me quit my full-time job as a software product manager. Otherwise, I would have never been able to start Latchel and take all that risk. But Latchel was created actually to help property managers managing units offload maintenance in a lot of those same way Amazon did for e-commerce, where Amazon fulfills on all the logistics and shipping and delivery. Latchel wants to be a fulfillment center for maintenance for managers, real estate syndicates, anyone in the real estate business running these long-term rentals. Could be multifamily, large apartment complexes, could even be single-family homes. The whole concept here, though, is for a lot of property managers, 40% of your time is going to go in every day just to the maintenance side. And if you could offload that to a different fulfillment center, i.e. Latchel, well, where would that time go? You could invest it in growth. You could invest it in deal sourcing. You can invest it in 100 other places. But fundamentally, when you look at a platform like Latchel, it should accomplish three things for you. The first is going to be, how do I actually create a high margin management business, which is obviously good for investors in any syndicate, right? You want the highest margin management as possible. The second is in that, like, revenue is a part of it, right? Which is, how do you consistently build revenue? Second piece of that is, how do I actually reduce cost of the operation? So there's two sides. Latchel actually helps with both. So we can talk about that in a sec. And then the third piece is actually, how do you create strong reputation and a strong branding? Because, that can actually be very powerful for the asset. And you do that with very positive tenant reputation. So we actually build more 5-star reviews and better online reputation management.
Wow. So you said property management companies will typically spend like 40% of their time on managing maintenance.
Just the maintenance side, yeah.
Wow. All right, so let's dive into that a little bit, because I'd love for the listeners who are operating properties, whether they're single or multifamily right now, to really understand. I just think even if they're not using Latchel, they're going to have some better understandings of maybe ways they can be more efficient.
Sure.
But then again, they may want to use it. But let's jump into that a little bit. Just creating the high margin, or how you all help reduce costs. What does that look like?
Yeah, well, traditionally when we actually first started the company, it was a pretty typical, like, product setup, as you could probably imagine. We would come into these property management businesses, and they would essentially pay us a monthly subscription for each unit to run the maintenance on that unit. And that helped with the cost side, because Latchel actually is a lot more cost efficient than having all, like, the overhead and systems in place that you typically need to run maintenance on a property. Our specialty is actually in troubleshooting. We actually use video to troubleshoot inside units to fix things without having to, dispatch maintenance technicians, or even if you have on-site maintenance teams, without having to put them on call, disturb them like nights, weekends, things like that. So a lot of it initially was about the cost reduction. And when we looked at it, we realized there was actually a huge opportunity for revenue improvement. And so what we actually ended up doing, and this is our core service that we offer right now that our customers love, we actually package a concierge service to residents. We do this in single family and multifamily. And the resident actually pays a monthly fee for the concierge. Now, the operator or owner of these units, they no longer have to flip the bill for it. They no longer have to worry about staffing people or doing it themselves, taking those maintenance requests. They use Latchel as the concierge to the tenant, doing all of that coordination. Now we're working with, the maintenance techs like you may already be working with, and that's because you're getting great rates from them. That's why you work with them. So we just
work with who? Who are the maintenance techs? I'm sorry.
These could be third-party vendors that you're using.
Okay.
Local maintenance companies that you love. It could be, a lot of large management companies may actually have hired staff they use, and we'll work with them on our platform. The point here, though, is you want to make sure that you have the highest net operating income possible.
Right.
That means reducing overhead, using the most cost-effective maintenance labor and things like that.
So would you say that, our maintenance teams or our management companies, that 40%, is that mostly just the is so much of that time spent on, taking the request and making sure it got done? And,
yeah, that's literally just the administration.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. It's all the administration. Like, we're not necessarily talking about the time it takes maybe a third party plumber.
Right.
To go in and unclog a toilet. We're literally talking like how much time is involved in taking these requests, doing the troubleshooting that you have to do. You send it, you're calling out now for plumbers. Maybe you already have one, you send it to them, but 2 days later, you're actually not sure if that got fixed. You can't have, your long-term resident sitting there with like a toilet that doesn't work. So now you're calling back and forth. Or maybe the thing did get done, but now you still don't have an invoice from that plumber that had been sent over. You need to get that invoice in order to actually be able to calculate your cost management. You don't want to get that invoice 6 months later and have it hit you out of nowhere. That whole process can, often take up to 40% of your time, just in the management process. It's one of the primary legs. The other time will be spent on things like leasing, growth, new sourcing. But when you have 40% of the time just going into the administrative headache,
Right.
and now it might not be your time specifically because you might have a team.
Sure.
You might have,
sure.
Your assistants. But when you just look at those man hours,
We're still paying for that time, though, that we could be doing. They could be doing something else.
you're
For
paying for it
sure.
somehow. Yeah.
So what's that follow-up process look like? Or kind of, I guess, walk us through that just a little bit. If a tenant, is a tenant going to pull that app up on their phone and then they're going to type up, an issue that they're having, and then kind of how does that work and what happens after?
Yeah, great question. So you mentioned it right at the start, that Latchel's a tech company. Now you can't actually get this done with just technology. Unfortunately, we're not like living in the Matrix where robots are, smarter than people. You need the support of people. So we combine technology and expert maintenance coordinators. So when a resident's inputting an issue, we actually go traditional bare bones way. They have a phone number. They call that number. They can text that number for help with maintenance. And a lot of the times, like if they're used to calling a number that you've already provided, you can either port it or just forward them. But they end up hitting a Latchel support line for maintenance. And this is live 24/7, 365. If they text in or call in, they have someone on with them within 60 seconds. And the first thing we have to do is really understand what is the issue you're dealing with. Sometimes it might not even be maintenance. It might just be like help they need in the home. Remember, we're a concierge. That means going beyond just typical maintenance work. It means helping them with anything that they need help with. Now, most of this stuff will be maintenance, right? That's generally when you're going to be like, okay, I need to call someone for help. I'm having like my toilet's clogged, whatever. So our first team understands what the issue is. And then we have a second team that takes that call. These are maintenance experts, and they do a video troubleshooting with a tenant. And the way that works is we text that tenant a link, they tap the link, and now they're in a video chat. No downloads. It's not like Zoom. Like when you hear, you don't have to download anything. You don't have to unlock permissions or anything. You literally click a link. We're seeing now what you see. You're showing us your overflowing toilet, and now we're going to walk you through finding the shutoff valve to stop that overflow, right? And now you're not going to have a problem where unit 2's flooding. Now unit 1 is calling in because they have water dripping in from, the ceiling. It's about mitigating that risk, stopping the problem immediately. And so we'll do that troubleshooting first. And generally, we're actually able to fix or at least de-escalate 40% of these issues on the phone. So we get
that's a lot of time savings right there.
Yeah, I mean, like, especially for any owner or operator of that unit, you don't have to do this yourself. And there's money savings too. Because if your first instinct is, oh, there's an overflow, let me go get out a plumber and it's midnight, you're paying this premium cost for getting that person out. Whereas when you can get on video and have an expert fix that thing over the phone, you just saved a ton of money not having to send out the plumber immediately. Now with Latchel, what we do is rather than send that back to you, our daytime team during business hours will then take the thing that's no longer an emergency and coordinate it as normal. We use a lot of technology to do that. So we collect availability from tenants. We provide that to technicians. They pick the time that works for them. We collect upfront things like service charges to make sure we're getting good rates. We leverage budget limits to know what kind of like the maximums we can go up to before getting approvals would be. So it's really like you can think of the technology almost as setting these guardrails around maintenance. We talk about the playbook early on. A playbook and process is how you build a scalable, fast-growing company of any kind of company. This is what the platform does. It creates that playbook for you around maintenance, and then our team executes on it. Ultimately, we bring these things to completion, and our customers only get involved when either things go really wrong, like we find out like a major renovation is required, or we find out we're going to be way over budget if we're going to go fix something. Otherwise,
so are those parameters like set up front? Like, okay, this owner is willing to pay this much for these types of repairs, and if it goes above that, right, then you all will contact them.
That's exactly right. Yeah. And this actually can get as, not that you'd want to go this detailed, but it can get as detailed down to the unit level. So for some reason you had special requirements on one unit in a building, but the others work different. You can even set that up. Everything is super customizable and dynamic because, like, as you know, the real estate industry, like, every home's unique, every building's unique, every apartment's unique.
Sounds like it's like calling the front desk of a hotel. Like if you're in a hotel and you have a problem.
Yeah.
That's what it seems like.
If that hotel could get on a video chat with you in an instant, it'd be the exact same.
Yeah. Like, where's the closest place to eat, or my sink is overflowing, right? Either one. So tell me, though, how is that marketed to tenants? Because I think you said, like, they pay for this type of service. Is that right? Yeah. So how is it marketed to them, where as opposed to them just having the mentality, well, they got to fix this stuff whether I pay for this or not. I'm not going to pay for a service. So how's it marketed to them so they want to do this?
Yeah, that's an awesome question. We get this all the time. So this is packaged as a concierge service. It's an amenity. So all of our customers bill it as an amenity. The tenant is getting more than just maintenance coordination. And this is how we've built it as a concierge package. I mean, of course, like, being able to call someone and within 60 seconds get them on the phone 24/7 on its own is a great concierge like service. They get more than that, though. And all the more than that they get is beneficial to the owner of that property, or the operator of that property. One of the things tenants love most is we give them damage reimbursements. So every tenant expects at some point, I'm going to probably do something dumb to clog the toilet, or break the garbage disposal, or I'm going to lock myself out. And one of the benefits to the concierge is we reimburse them $50 for all of these damages that they might cause. There's some side benefit there for the owner, because it means, like, if you're having difficulty charging back the tenant for these things, well, at least you're getting the $50 back from Latchel. The other thing that tenants love this, but I think actually the owners and operators love this even more, our customers. We do proactive move-out maintenance with a tenant. So we actually get in touch with them before a lease end. They tell us all the things that they broke in the house that need to get fixed. We proactively work with them to get those things fixed, billing the tenant, right? Because it's their responsibility. The tenants love it because they just want to make sure they're getting as much of their deposit back. But what's great for the owner operators of the property is you're getting all this maintenance fixed before the move out, which means your turns are much faster. You lease the unit faster, and you're getting rent faster. Right? So that's a big benefit. There are a few other things we do just to kind of make the tenant's life easy. Like, we handle cancellations of appointments really well. If you've ever worked with, like, a third-party maintenance tech, generally, if you're going to cancel that appointment within, like, X amount of time, they're charging a trip charge. That can be really hard to charge back to the tenant, because they're like, I canceled the appointment. Like, I'm not going to pay for that. And now as the owner operator, you're stuck paying this maintenance tech a trip charge. Latchel reimburses for those things as well. Part of the reason we're able to do that is our system just works so well. We're really good at preventing techs from going out to places where tenants have said they're not going to be available or canceled the appointment. Now, for large multifamily communities, that's a little bit less of an issue, because you might have someone on site to help them in. But even then, you need permission to enter, which can cause problems. So our system does a great job.
How do you all work with, the management team on site? Say we have, 3 full-time employees that are managing this large complex, and then they start to, advertise to the tenants that they have this service available, or something like that. And then, but, maybe some of the tenants do it and some don't. I just wonder how, I guess then the management company still has to, do it the way they've been doing it for the tenants that don't sign up, right?
Well, actually, it's even better than that. So what Latchel does, so for like new leases and lease renewals, it's actually, we give all the materials to make it really easy to just bake in Latchel into the lease. So like the concierge on new leases and renewals, it's just like a mandatory part of leasing that unit. But on all the existing units there, that hasn't been a part of their lease. And what we work with the manager to do, whether it's a big community or even like 100 single family homes, is we implement it for everybody. And then Latchel provides a complimentary fee waiver to all the existing tenants. No questions asked. If a tenant's like financially struggling or just doesn't want the concierge, they fill out this fee waiver, and we don't bill that tenant. We don't bill the property manager. They lose some of the concierge benefits, but we still actually provide the maintenance coordination. Because the thing that could kill a scalable business, especially if you're fast growing, is if you have to run multiple processes. Mm-hmm. We make sure you only run one process. It's one playbook, maintenance done through Latchel. And basically, like, we kind of flip the bill complimentary for that unit. But, on our side at Latchel, we know, hey, once that lease renews, once a new lease is signed, well, at that point, like, the tenant is paying for the service again. So it's kind of it's really a partnership we're making with owners and operators.
Is it usually the owner that's contacting you all and putting you in touch with the property management company they're using, or is it usually the management companies who are reaching out?
It could be both. Most often we find it's either owner-operators, so they own and operate. That's most of the time. It's also property managers that do fee management. So, if you're running a syndicate and you use a third-party manager, they might reach out directly. And then we do actually get the owners or investors in the property referring us to their managers. On their side, oftentimes it's about, I want my tenants to retain. We're providing like a great concierge service, and you might already know this, but maintenance is usually one of the top 3 reasons tenants will leave a community. We reverse that trend. You see more tenant retention, which obviously helps increase the NOI of that property.
Wow. Okay. Well, Ethan, you've got my attention. I'm definitely going to look into it myself. I hope the listeners will as well. Either way, I just think it helps us to think about how to be more efficient with our maintenance requests and things like that, even using our smartphones, to show what the request is. So maybe we don't have to make a trip all the way out there or send somebody out there as well. But yeah, increasing our NOI any way we can do that and become more efficient is our business, right? I mean, most businesses. But just a few final questions, though. What's a way that you've increased or improved, I'll say improved your business that we could apply to ours? There's like recent improvement.
Yeah, good question. So I do want to say, like, if you're interested in learning about Latchel's culture principles, that's how we've built the company, and this is how we operate.
I think we should do another show just talking about how you all built that culture and to fuel the growth and some of that. Maybe we'll have you back to talk about that.
Absolutely. Would be happy to do that. A lot of these were actually pulled from Amazon. My co-founder is an Amazonian, and a lot of our senior staff here have decades of experience from Amazon. I mean, talk about building a scalable business, like just look to Amazon for the tips there. But continuous improvement is a really important one to us. And what that means is you're building your playbooks across all aspects, and you're measuring every week, how am I doing? And what we do at Latchel is we'll run experiments. We'll tweak something, look at the metrics, and see how that impacts the playbook. So the most recent thing we actually did was move from phone-based troubleshooting to video-based troubleshooting. And it was great for a couple of reasons. Believe it or not, video-based troubleshooting per minute is actually cheaper, which is great for Latchel's margin. It's surprising, but video calls are actually cheaper than calling over a cell network. And the second piece was actually discovering that when you could see what the tenant's talking about, you're going to be a more effective troubleshooter, and you're going to increase that ratio of troubleshooting. So that was the most recent thing we did. And it's all just things you can test and measure. You look week to week, hey, when we launched video, did we see troubleshooting rates go up? And we did. Now it's become like a core part of the way we operate.
What's the number one thing that's contributed to your success that we hadn't talked about?
I would probably just say grit and persistence, which I think any entrepreneur, anyone running a business, like it's a required component. It's also required in order to have the discipline to continuously experiment, monitor, and then improve. But you'll be able to get far if you just stick it out and have the grit to keep going. Especially when you're seeing results. Like you might see them slowly at first, but the longer you do it, you kind of have a compounding effect.
Wow. How do you like to give back?
That's a great question. I actually, unfortunately, I don't give much time. I give donations to the CF Foundation, which is the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, and that's. I would love to be able to spend more time. Maybe it's just an excuse to say that I'm too busy to do it and I just got to make time. We all have 24 hours in a day. But yeah, I mostly donate to the CF Foundation.
Nice. Well, I appreciate you giving back in your time, with the listeners and myself, and telling us about Latchel, helping us to just think more efficiently as well with our maintenance. And when you think about 40%, I mean, that's a ton of time that's spent. And so if we could reduce that even just a little bit, I mean, we're doing a lot. And so grateful for your time, Ethan. Tell the listeners how they can get in touch with you and learn more about you. Yeah,
feel free to visit our website at Latchel.com. It's just LATCHEL.com, like satchel, but with an L. You can also find me on Twitter, just EM, M as in Malcolm, which is my middle name, EM Lieber. Also, feel free to email me. I'm pretty responsive to everyone, and my email is public. It's just ethan@latchel.com.
Thank you for listening to the Real Estate Syndication Show, brought to you by LifeBridge Capital. LifeBridge Capital works with investors nationwide to invest in real estate, while also donating 50% of its profits to assist parents who are committing to adoption. LifeBridge Capital, making a difference, one investor and one child at a time. Connect online at www.lifebridgecapital.com for free material and videos to further your success.